What's up, team? In today's video, we're going to be discussing how to take your pain and turn it into your greatest gift in life. Now, the reason why I wanted to create this video is because I see so many of us, including myself at times, like walking around, navigating life, and we find ourselves in a lot of like dense pain where we're really struggling to break through to the next level in life, because we're being held back by our limitations, by our lack, by our pain that we feel within ourselves. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this video, I just wanted to preface and say that the breaking through and overcoming and transmuting your pain is the key to getting and achieving anything that you want in your life, becoming who you want to be, and actually just allowing yourself to be your raw, authentic self, okay? So before we move forward, I just wanted to note that pain is simply an emotion, right? Now, knowing that pain is an emotion, you might be sitting there on the other end of YouTube or wherever you're watching this and be coming back and saying, well, I don't necessarily experience too much pain. And I would say, bullshit. So pain can show up in many different forms, right? Because when we look at the opposite of pain, what is the opposite of pain? I see pain as kind of like a slow death, right? So the opposite of pain for me is where I'm feeling fully alive, engaged, passionate, enthusiastic about life. And I'm really tap dancing around and I'm marching to the beat of my own drum. I'm doing what I love and I'm totally engaged with myself and I'm connected to my heart and what is true for me, right? That makes me come alive and activate my full consciousness in life. But when I am suffering or allowing myself to suffer in pain, I feel really dense, I feel tight, I feel stressed, and I feel really limited in what I can do and who I can become and what I can achieve. So most people don't talk about this, in life and business. That's my background. A lot of people are talking about, the tactics and, some practical strategies of how to achieve what you want in that arena. But the key to actually breaking through to the next level in life is overcoming or transmuting and becoming one with your pain and turning it and flipping it and inverting it to utilize it as your greatest gift when you're moving forward in life. So knowing that pain is an emotion, like I said, it can show up in many different forms. It can be a form of depression. It can be a form of lack, like lethargy, where you're even lacking in confidence. You don't have energy. You don't have personal power. Pain is, or some cause of pain is really the underlying effect of all those emotions or feelings that that are residing within you. It can also lead to a lack of motivation, a lack of drive, a lack of willpower, all of these things that hold you back from doing what you need to do, from becoming who you really want to become in life. So with pain being an emotion, we also need to understand that an emotion equals or is energy in motion. So to really get to the root of this, we're taking more of a philosophical approach, and then I'm going to give you some practical steps that you can take and apply in the middle of this video. But an emotion is simply energy in motion. And the reason why that's so important is because the universe runs on energy. Everything is energy, right? Absolutely everything that you see. And if you want to investigate that truth further, you can look into things like quantum physics and quantum entanglement and how energy, your energy, affects everything around you, and that the whiteboard here, the plant over there, affects my energy in this room as well, if I allow it to. So with your emotion being energy in motion, we need to understand that energy is moving through us at all times. And pain, the dense energy that we feel within us, is going to be really dense. It's going to be more matter. It's going to be heavy. It's going to hold us back and it's going to anchor us. It's going to keep us back from doing and becoming what we want. Whereas when we feel alive and activated and enthusiastic and powerful, energetic, they're like senses and feelings that allow us to become more light. So in order for us to become those things and feel those emotions on a consistent basis, we need to look at our pain and understand what do we need to do and how can we transmute and overcome our pain and turn it into those like golden type energies, the lighter energies that are going to really empower us and drive us forward in life. So as we move forward here, understanding that pain is really what holds us back, and our bigger drivers are going to really move us forward in life, we need to look at what is the root cause of our pain. So what I would encourage you to do right now is analyze in your life, like, where am I feeling pain in my life? Am I susceptible to some form of addiction at the moment? Am I numbing myself out and escaping my pain by diving into just consuming on social media? Am I diving into porn all the time? Am I just numbing myself out by drinking alcohol, smoking weed, taking drugs, like whatever it may be to you, shopping too much? All of these things oftentimes are just a distraction to numb us from our own pain that we're really struggling with inside ourselves. So the first step to knowing our pain is we've got to allow ourselves to sit with it, right? We've got to allow ourselves to like sit in a meditation, or just when we feel the urge to go and do something to distract ourselves from our pain, we can just return within and be like, okay, I'm feeling dense, I'm feeling pain within me. What is the fucking cause of that? Where is it coming from? Why do I feel that way? Because we have to start getting in tune with our own energy or emotions within us. Because when we start to work with our emotions, we can start to basically invert them, or not even invert them, but integrate them and transmute them to higher states of being. So we really can propel ourselves forward in life. Because if we continue to ignore our pain, well, transmuting and addressing, confronting our pain is the path forward. That is all it is. Like, you can't outrun your pain. You've got to run through it. You've got to transmute it. You've got to integrate it, right? So I would encourage you to write down a list of shit. What are some unresolved things that I haven't addressed in my life? Because it's all energy. And without processing through and working through that pain that you've experienced or are currently experiencing in your life, it's going to lay dormant within you. It's going to continue to reside within your body, energetically, emotionally. And until you address it front on, you're not going to be able to release it from your system, and it's always going to hold you back. And the funny thing is, you'll notice what your pain is by your triggers in life, right? Because your pain, that emotion creates a filter from which you view the world. So, for example, I will transfer to this diagram now before I go into that explanation. So, consider this. Consider that there's two phases in life. The first phase of life is really our childhood, teenage years, and honestly, most people don't even ever transition to the second phase of life, okay? But I'm going to explain the first phase so you can understand it, so that you can actually make the leap if you're here, or if you're still stuck in this phase one type of living. And if you're watching this video, you're probably right here, or you're now transitioning and you're starting to master the phase two type of living, or the way. So in phase one, we are susceptible to everything outside of us, right? Because when we're born, human beings are quite funny. And I've been really analyzing this more because my partner, Jenny, she's pregnant and she's about to give birth like any day now. So I've been really investigating like early childhood and looking at the dynamic of that. And it's fascinating because human beings are one of the only species that are born completely and utterly incapable of doing anything, right? Like, babies can't move, they can't feed themselves, they can't walk, whereas animals in the animal kingdom, they can all basically function to a certain degree right out of it, like as soon as they're born. Like a giraffe plonks out, it gets up, it starts walking, and it's with the tribe. But a human being comes out and they're just like totally reliant on you. In other words, they're totally limited in what they can do. They are full of lack. And I want to encourage you to consider that we've actually designed this human game, this earth experience, to work that way so that we can experience what it feels like to feel completely and utterly helpless. In other words, we want to learn what it feels like to be the opposite of our true self, because our true self is like infinite power, infinite light, infinite abundance, expansion. That's who we are as like infinite creators in this realm. But when we come into this earth experience, we are completely limited in what we can do, and we forget who we are. We come through the veil of forgetfulness when we're born into this earth experience, and the whole journey is about going from a place of limitation and lack to complete, infinite, like limitlessness, where we are infinitely capable, right? But very few of us actually make that leap in our life because we get stuck with the internal programming from our childhood. So let's talk about that for a moment. Say we're born, we come into this earth realm, and then say this is us, like this small square is us. And what are we? We are energy, right? We are an aperture in which the universe is looking at itself, and we are a unique perspective. We are like just one unique perspective because we're all connected, and we as a unique soul start to form a perspective of reality, and the intelligence that we gain throughout our lifetime and our lifetimes adds to our collective consciousness of all that is. But when we come in as a soul, we are resonating at a certain energy. And because we're completely limited in who we are and what we are in infancy, we start to become susceptible to the programming around us, right? So we grow up with friends and family and those around us in a certain environment, in a certain social culture that starts to form our beliefs and identity of who we are. So our reality that our peers live in forms their experiences, which then forms their beliefs, because most people aren't aware of this, so they're looking at their environment to tell them who they are, instead of going within to understand who you are in the first place, right? So then that forms your limited identity of who you are. And most of us, when we come in, we think that we're insignificant, we think that we're not capable, we think that, we're just like out here floating in space, we're just a byproduct of evolution that was an accident, there's no purpose to our life. And that is really limiting. So we start to go through and grow up in society thinking that we don't matter, thinking that we're not important, that we don't have a divine essence within us. So then we start to feel really small within ourselves. And that forms our energy. And then our energy becomes really dense and hijacked, basically. Because then, as that forms our energy, because we're so susceptible to everything around us when we're young, that creates our internal operating system and program within our mind. Because the energy in which we're vibrating at starts to form our emotions, and especially if we've experienced trauma, well, absolutely we're going to lower in our energetic frequency, because now we've experienced pain that's dragging us down, and when we're young we don't know how to process through and transmute that pain, right? So then we really start to feel quite small. And that then basically reinforces our identity, which then reinforces our beliefs throughout life. And the older we get, the more our early beliefs continue to be reinforced, because our beliefs reinforce our identity. And then because of our beliefs create our experiences, or our beliefs create our reality around us, our experiences that we experience mirror back to us our current beliefs, right? So it's a limiting box. It's like we're trapped in a container, in a tight sealed box that has defined who we are and what we can experience in this realm. And then that determines our reality. That says, you're on planet Earth and there's nothing higher going on. You don't worry about that. You are a part of this social culture with these societal norms, and you need to go get a 9-to-5 job. You need to get the house. You need to have the family. You need to get the dog. I'm doing those things, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's about our perception about it. And then you need to be trapped and enslaved into the monetary system that's going to hold you back and keep you limited throughout your entire life. and then you're going to die, and then you're going to cease to exist forevermore. And good luck, there you go, be on your way. That to me is like, holy shit, right? That doesn't feel very good at all. No wonder so many of us are navigating life in so much fucking pain, right? Because we're disconnected from the truth of who we are. But as I said, we actually designed and agreed to play this game that way because we wanted to experience what it feels like to be the inversion, the opposite of our true self. So as we then navigate life, typically humans, I would say 99% of human beings take on this model of life and they continue to look to the external world to validate who they are. And this model is really where you're living a life of victimhood. You're always the victim, you know? You don't take responsibility for yourself. You don't see yourself as a creator of your reality. You don't understand that your thoughts, your beliefs, your energy, your vibration is actually creating the reality around you. And then your experiences are reinforcing and mirroring back to you what your deeply held programmed beliefs are. And then most people die still believing in that model. But if you're here, I dare say that you're transitioning over to this model here, where this is the line in the sand. This arrow, or this is really the point of, this is like where you experience a catalyst. This is where your pain has become so great, where you're starting to ask yourself like the bigger questions in life, because it's, you know, you can't walk around in this realm anymore without starting to question things because it hurts so bad. It feels so wrong. It doesn't feel right. You feel so far removed from your true self. And you start wondering like, is there something more to myself, to this reality? Is there something bigger out there? Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? They are the questions that you start asking when you start to transition over to Model 2 or Phase 2 of life. When you get here to this point of catalyst, you can start to ask that people typically take one or two paths. Sorry, I'm making a bit of a botch of this, but people take one or two paths. Number one, they start to maybe ponder those questions like, oh, who am I? Oh, that's scary. Why am I here? Oh, that's scary. We live in a universe with probably millions and trillions of other beings and entities out there. Oh, that's too scary to navigate or ponder in life. So I'm going to remain small and I'm going to go back to the land of comfort that is familiar to me. And I'm going to allow this model just to bring me stability and security because at least I know what this model feels like. I know what that feels like. I trust it. And you know what? I prefer to play the victim in life because stretching my mind, stretching my beliefs, stretching my paradigms in the way in which I view myself in the world is too scary. It's too challenging because it basically rips the floor right out from underneath you. And the only way to survive when you start to stretch your mind and your beliefs that much, when you experience a catalyst of pain, is you have to start going within. So this is the transfer of being the victim to the creator, going from the external world for validation to going with inside yourself and taking responsibility for your energy, your emotions, what you're feeling. So over here, people are really driven by things like fear, scarcity, lack. People continue to accept holding on to emotions like guilt and shame. People are driven by like money, fame, the egoic type desires that allow you to receive validation from others, your peers, the external world, which feels great, right? It boosts your ego up. But then when you start to transition over here, those things don't matter to you as much anymore. What you're trying to find is the answers to who you are, and to do that you have to go within, inside yourself. Why am I here? What is my purpose? The only way you can start to find those answers is to go within, because you realize that no matter who you listen to out there in the external world, they're not you, right? So how could they possibly know what your purpose is? Like, I'm here to help guide you back to you. So you don't have to accept any of my teachings or beliefs. You can use your own discernment to feel what's right for you. But I dare say if you're listening to this, it resonates at some level, right? You know there's some truth in it. So accept what you want for yourself. But all I would encourage you to do from this point forward is to accept what expands you the most. Accept what inspires you the most. What makes you feel really good, powerful, and empowered. And let go of any beliefs and paradigms and perceptions that are limiting you, that are holding you back. And that's the only way to navigate this new phase 2 type of or way of life, because now you have to take responsibility for your energy, and you can no longer in phase 2 afford to hold on to your pain. You can no longer afford to hold on to your limiting beliefs, your limiting paradigms and perceptions in the way in which you view yourself and the world around you. You have to start walking your own path. You can look to others for guidance, but you can't look to others for answers, because now you realize that all of the answers that you're seeking and looking for are all within. And you can have teachers and mentors for guidance, but as I said, the answers are now within, and you know that in phase 2. So then you start to go on this internal journey where you're walking your own path and you're discovering yourself, and you're starting to re-merge with your soul. You're starting to re-merge with your higher self. You're starting to re-merge with the truth of who you are. And the reason why I'm talking about this now is that when you experience some pain where you're tested to your absolute limit, and you start to go within to find the answers, the catalyst, and you start to walk on this journey, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier because you have to. There's a great quote by Marianne Williamson, and you can look it up for greater detail, but the overall consensus is that it's not our darkness that we fear the most, which is kind of this over here, right? Our fear and our limitation. It's actually our light. It's the truth that we fear the most, that intimidates us the most, because we've lived this life where we feel so limited and powerless as human beings. And in phase 2, literally, it's a path of expanding who you are. It's a path of expanding and enhancing your energetic vibration, of opening your consciousness, of receiving more light into your system that makes you feel infinitely powerful from not an egoic standpoint, but from like a place of your heart center. And that starts to form a more empowered identity for yourself, where you start to realize who you are, that maybe you're just borrowing this human physical vehicle. Maybe there's more to it than that, right? And that starts to form really empowering beliefs for yourself, which then creates amazing experiences, and then that forms a different reality. A reality where you realize that you are multidimensional, that you are coexisting in multiple planes of existence at once, integrated with your higher self in the higher realms. You're not just limited to this physical vehicle. You're not your body. You're not your thoughts. You're not your beliefs. You are infinite. You are everything. You are abundant. And that can be really hard to start to accept because we've been programmed for so long that we're not those things. And that's why going and embarking on this journey is so hard, because we can no longer play the victim, and we have to release our pain. We have to work through our traumas, our emotions. And really, this game is not about trying to achieve success anymore. It's not about trying to achieve fame. It's not about trying to build the best business. It's about mastering yourself within. It's about mastering your emotions. And everything that you experience in life in phase 2 is all about literally just living in the present moment. It's about identifying what's triggering you in the moment and being like, why am I being triggered by this? Why is this emotion arising within my bodily complex when my partner says this to me or does that? Because you realize that everything is just mirroring back to you what you need to process and transmute and move through with inside yourself to become more light, to become more pure, to become more expansive and infinite. So that is how to turn your pain into your greatest gift, is to continue to transition over here, to continue to identify, where am I feeling pain? Where am I feeling disconnection, dis-ease within my body? Within my mind? What beliefs, what thoughts am I holding on to that are no longer serving me? Because your disconnection, your removal from your truth is what's going to create the greatest amount of pain. And as soon as you start to step in with courage into this phase 2, if you do anything but doing that and following that path where you're going within and processing through your emotions, it's going to create amplified amounts of pain, because now you're aware of this model. You're aware that if you follow the path or the desires of your ego, it's going to remove you more so from your true path in life, from what you really want, which is to connect to the truth of who you are and to find out what your purpose is so you can start living it on a daily basis with passion, where you're feeling alive. And then in addition to that, that's the internal journey that you're going to go through, right? But if you're wanting to serve others, if you're wanting to help others, well, all of your experiences in life, all of the jobs that you've had, whether you've worked at fucking McDonald's and worked a bunch of shit jobs that you've hated throughout your life, know that all of those experiences in your work career were building and giving you the required experiences for you to adopt the mindsets, the paradigms, and the experience or skill sets required to basically to allow you to utilize those skill sets in your next journey. And all of your traumas and all of the pain that you've experienced in your life has built this arsenal that you can now rely on, because how can you help someone else go through and transmute their pain? And how can you help anyone else without having gone through a similar experience yourself, right? Because that creates compassion, that creates empathy, that creates understanding for the other. And when I started to realize that, I then started to really adopt the paradigm of being the change that I want to see in the world. So, whenever I was experiencing pain, I would first take the journey within to transmute whatever I needed to, because I knew that that was the path to the greatest expansion for myself. But I also realized that by healing myself and processing through what I need to within, it's going to equip me to serve others at such a higher and greater capacity in the future moving forward, because I have understanding for what you're going through. I have compassion. I have empathy for what you're feeling, and I've lived it, right? Because you can't develop wisdom without experience. You can develop knowledge, but you can't develop wisdom. And the experience is what amplifies your wisdom in life. And your awareness of that experience is what develops true wisdom, Because you can experience something but be totally asleep to the reality of what's going on, and you're not developing any wisdom. It's only until you start to develop awareness within the experience, and when you start to take ownership of processing through what is coming up within, that allows you to serve others at such a greater capacity. So that is really going to be it for this specific video. If you would like me to continue on this type of discussion in talking about this type of thing a little bit more, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. I would love to hear what you think of this model of phase 1 and phase 2 type living. I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was genuinely from this video, because now I'm going to start creating a few more on a more consistent basis on here on YouTube, which I'm really excited about. But I also, I do have a pretty small audience with you guys and I appreciate you for watching, because, this sort of stuff isn't very mainstream. And while I have a small audience, I just want to actually make the most of that opportunity to connect with you guys, because I know that you're a fucking human on the other end of this camera, and I don't really know many people talking about this stuff. So if you're really interested in this, if you want to join the discussion, if you want to join us in expanding on these topics, then let's collaborate and let's make the most of it. Because I'm not your fucking guru, I'm just here to share some info and share some shit that I've learned. But I know that you're very powerful in your own right, and I know that you are an expert and you have great knowledge and expertise in your field, but let's come together, let's start collaborating. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.